for example, like John Grisham's The Innocent Man, where he actually told a nonfiction story versus his fiction novels about other legal situations that could be real, and how you perceive that, whether fiction is better or whether nonfiction is better.
Well, part of me says, again, it's part, the writing. John Grisham is great for plotting. As far as I can think of a lot better writers, frankly. And if I could just make a little kind of advertisement here, Blood Feud, the book that I just finished, has been called a legal thriller. So is that, you can't really say if it's better or not, but I think the key is finding a story that really impassions you, that you just cannot let go. And whether you decide to fictionalize it or write it as a true story will shape the way the story comes out. But God knows there's lots of grist for legal thrillers these days, given our court system.
I think The Innocent Man was actually his nonfiction book. It was Confession, which was his fiction book.
Yes, please.
I'm totally confused now. What is nonfiction and then what is fiction? Because if 90% of fiction is nonfiction, and I can see that, then how can a nonfiction book that is interesting and gets people to think be 100% nonfiction?
Well, that's a really good question, because anytime you write nonfiction, even if every fact in the book is true, you've made all thousands of decisions about what not to put in, about what point of view to take. And when you're writing a newspaper article, you're supposed to be objective, but when you're writing a book or a magazine article, you do reveal your point of view. So is nonfiction really nonfiction is a really deep question.
Yeah.
Because it's just
It is, and I'll make a plug for a book. It was one of the best books I've ever read. I put it way up on the list. It's called The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. If you haven't read it, if you bought my book, return it and spend the money on that one. What he does in that book, what's that?
But you signed it already.
I will re-sign it, Tim O'Brien. Just a brief thing about what he does there that gets at this question of what is fiction and nonfiction. I don't want to give it away, but he actually asks the question of whether facts are what makes something real, or whether emotion and point of view makes something real. And it really, it doesn't intend to make a mockery, but it asks a very unbelievably salient question about the impact of writing on us and how things are constructed. So I think you ask a good question.
Well, and I'd also say a nonfiction book, a real good one, will usually have endnotes, footnotes, and a lot of legal vetting. So, there's an awful lot of court transcripts and factual checking that does go into nonfiction that probably doesn't go into fiction that much. And if
Absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, please. Either or both, do it in unison, harmony. Yes.
Well, I had a follow-up question for Doug. I told you I love The Monster of Florence. And I was curious as to whether you have any sense that you're writing so eloquently about the problems of the Italian legal system and the situation there, whether you felt that there's been any change at all over there?
Well, yes, I don't know. I mean, the Italian legal system is totally dysfunctional, and Berlusconi is trying to change it. Not that he's trying to change it in the right way, but the system, all Italians or most Italians recognize that their system is dysfunctional and they have to fix it, but they don't know how to fix it. But I don't know what kind of effect my book has had. Probably more in American opinion towards Italy than in Italian opinion about themselves.
But it has been translated.
Well, that's very complicated. It was translated into many different European languages, but the Italian language was reserved. And there's another book out there that I wrote with Mario Spezzi, which is not The Monster of Florence, and it's only in Italian. And it's a rights situation. So
Invariably. Yes.
My day job is a police psychologist, and I actually worked with the Monster of Florence case through Interpol. They had done a quick investigation, but we were thrown out of Italy. And I think you got the Italian feeling so well in that book. Well, my question is more of, as a police psychologist, I find that a lot of police work is random. They're going in a direction, and then, for instance, the Unabomber, if he was an only child, he'd still be out there. A lot of the work is random, and I don't see that depicted too much in the work that we write, the stuff that we write.
When you say the stuff we write, you mean the fiction, the thrillers.
The thrillers.
It seems very directed. You know where you're going, and you wind up there.
Right,
and
you do the forensics, and the forensics, I mean, for example, as a police psychologist, I talk to police officers all the time, and they say, well, I saw this thing on CSI. Do we have that? They say, no, we don't have that. That's fiction.
And I think the reason for that, honestly, is that readers often feel cheated. If the case is solved with a lucky break at the last second, they feel like, what? I've just put in 280 pages so that the brother who we've never met, who is just coming out of nowhere, is going to hand it in. It's not satisfying to them. So that's a case where we frankly ignore reality a little bit, I think.
Well, I think in general thrillers are ignore reality in that they create an alternate reality of a moral universe where people, do things in certain ways, and the bad people get their comeuppance, and the good people prevail. And even noirish thrillers, there's very clear divisions between good and evil. But real police work, as you know, is very random. The divisions between good and evil are so blurred that they would never be acceptable in fiction, and there's often no closure. I mean, people were upset that the Monster of Florence book didn't have any closure. Who did it? Did he really do it? That's just the way life is, and that's why fiction is so different from nonfiction. That's probably the biggest difference, is what you just pointed out.
Yeah, and the limitations of nonfiction, of course, as all journalists know, when you go back and forth, man, it can be frustrating when the real people don't work in a full story arc.
Yeah.
It's so inconsiderate of them. I mean, I have needs as a storyteller here, and get in line, where they don't give you the perfect quote, like that great bit of dialogue that you can invent. They don't give it to you.
I think what we're telling you, and we hope your takeaway will be, is it would be helpful for us if you guys behave differently.
Yeah.
So we talked about it beforehand. That's the narrative arc of this thing. You're not cooperating. It's your fault. Unless there's one last one, or shall we? Yeah.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
We have 2 minutes. I think we can. We will also, because we are gracious, give you 2 minutes extra at the end of your lives. Now.
Use it wisely.
Can we thank our fantastic